Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. In the vast theater of human history, few practices are as powerful and mysterious as ritual sacrifice. For millennia, our only glimpses into these ceremonies came from biased texts or silent art. But today, we're going to uncover a hidden history, a story told not by scribes or painters, but by the very bones of the animals offered to unseen gods. This is the story of belief, society, and the deep relationship between humans and animals, as written in bone. This is the world of archaeozoology. How do scientists distinguish an animal sacrificed to a god from one that was simply dinner? It's a fascinating detective story. Archaeologists, or more specifically, archaeozoologists, look for clues in what they call the taphonomic history of a bone, the complete story of what happened to it from life to discovery. The first major clue is the discovery of structured deposits. This isn't a random trash pit of kitchen scraps. These are intentional, careful arrangements of animal remains that have no practical purpose. Imagine finding specific body parts, like skulls or perfectly articulated limbs, placed in a pit, a hearth, or on an altar within a temple. The context is everything. But it's not just what is present, it's what's missing. Ritual deposits often show a very specific selection of animals. Maybe a site only has the bones of young male sheep. This choice wasn't random. It was often dictated by religious rules or symbolism. In ancient Greece, for example, the thigh bones wrapped in fat were burned for the gods, while the rest of the meat was eaten by the community. This leaves a clear signature for archaeologists: a ton of burnt thigh bones in a sacred area, and not much else. The bones themselves carry the marks of the ritual. Burn patterns can tell us if a whole animal was incinerated in a massive offering, or if only specific parts were touched by flame. Cut marks from butchery reveal if an animal was carefully portioned out for a communal feast or offered whole to the divine. And modern science has given us incredible new tools. Isotopic analysis of tooth enamel can reveal where an animal was born and raised, telling us if it was a local creature or a valuable exotic import. Ancient DNA can confirm the exact species, unlocking secrets of trade and symbolic choice. Let's begin our journey in the ancient Near East, the cradle of civilization and sacrifice. The practice here stretches back into the Neolithic period, at a site in Iran called Tepe-Ajeb, dating back 11,400 years. Archaeologists found a pit containing the skulls and bones of numerous wild boars. The sheer number and the focus on the heads points to a massive feasting event with a powerful ritual purpose. As societies developed agriculture, domesticated animals took center stage. At Tel Safi/Gath in Israel, the ancient Philistine city, a remarkable discovery was made under the floors of houses. Archaeologists found the complete skeletons of 4 young female donkeys, intentionally buried as foundation deposits to grant divine protection to the home. The real shock came from isotopic analysis of their teeth. These weren't local donkeys. They had been born and raised in Egypt's Nile Valley and imported all the way to Canaan. Meanwhile, other donkey bones at the site, showing signs of being butchered for food, were all local. The message was clear: local animals were for food, but valuable, high-status imported donkeys were reserved for the gods. With the rise of great cities, sacrifice became formalized. Ancient texts, like the Hebrew Bible, describe elaborate systems with rules for which animals were acceptable offerings, and the bone record often matches, with digs at sites like Megiddo, revealing piles of fragmented and burned bones from young male sheep, goats, and cattle in ritual areas. Now, let's sail to the Aegean, home to the Minoans on Crete and the Mycenaeans on the Greek mainland. Minoan art is filled with scenes of bull leaping and bulls being prepared for sacrifice. The famous Hagia Triada sarcophagus shows a bull being bled as part of a ceremony. The bones confirm it. Bulls, goats, sheep, and pigs were all part of their ritual world. On the mainland, at the Mycenaean palace of Nestor at Pylos, archaeologists found distinct deposits of burned animal bones, mostly from at least 10 cattle. These weren't food scraps. The specific selection of body parts and the burning point directly to large-scale feasting and burnt offerings, just like those described centuries later in Homer's epics. And here's the clincher. These bones were found right next to clay tablets written in Linear B. These tablets were the palace's administrative records, detailing the management of livestock specifically for these feasts. This is a stunning connection between the written record and the physical act. These sacrifices weren't just religious. They were political tools used by the elite to demonstrate their power and unite the community. Across Europe, the Iron Age was a time of immense cultural change, and ritual was at its heart. Roman writers like Julius Caesar wrote sensational stories about mass human sacrifices by Celtic druids. But the animal bones provide more direct and nuanced evidence. One of the most extraordinary sites in the world is Casas del Turuñuelo in southwestern Spain from the 5th century BCE. In the courtyard of a monumental building, a mass animal sacrifice of unbelievable scale was found. Excavations have revealed the remains of 52 animals. 41 of them were horses, accompanied by cattle, pigs, and a single dog. The burial happened in 3 phases. In the first 2, the skeletons were complete, meaning they were buried whole and not eaten. Some horses were even arranged in pairs, like a scene on a stage. Only in the final phase do the cattle and pig bones show signs of butchery, suggesting a massive feast marked the final ritual before the entire building was destroyed and buried. The sheer scale and the focus on horses, animals of incredible prestige and value, makes this site unique in European history. The Roman world, of course, had its own deeply embedded traditions. Public animal sacrifice was central to Roman state religion, designed to maintain the peace of the gods. The most prestigious ceremony was the Suavitoria, the offering of a pig, a sheep, and a bull. These were huge public events. The best animals were chosen, decorated with garlands, and paraded to the altar. The feast that followed was a key part of reinforcing the social order. The priests and elites got the best cuts of meat, while the common people received lesser portions. A hierarchy you can literally see in the types of bones left behind in different areas. This practice wasn't just a global phenomenon in the Old World. In ancient Egypt, the relationship with animals was central to their view of the cosmos. As early as 4000 BCE, sheep and goats were buried near human graves. Later, temple records show that cattle were the most valued offering for the cult of a dead pharaoh, with the meat distributed to temple staff in a system of religiously sanctioned feasting. And most famously, Egypt practiced the mummification of millions of animals, cats, ibis, hawks, crocodiles, offered as votives to their associated gods, fueling a massive religious economy. In ancient China, during the Shang dynasty, sacrifice was tied to ancestor worship and political power. Early on, pigs and dogs were the most common victims. But with the rise of the Bronze Age state, cattle, sheep, and horses were added, with cattle becoming the most important offering. At the last Shang capital at Anyang, oracle bone inscriptions, the first Chinese writing, record unimaginable numbers of sacrifices to appease royal ancestors. These texts are confirmed by the discovery of enormous sacrificial pits, filled with the remains of cattle, horses buried with their chariots, and often human victims as well. One particularly unique practice was the burial of dogs, especially puppies, in graves. They were often placed in a small pit beneath the human coffin, possibly to serve as protectors or guides in the afterlife. The evidence is truly global. In the Americas, at the great city of Teotihuacan in Mexico, the skeleton of a spider monkey was found in a ritual burial. DNA and isotopic analysis revealed the monkey wasn't from the region at all. It came from the Maya lowlands, hundreds of miles away, and had lived in captivity for years before being sacrificed. This was likely a form of gift diplomacy, a valuable, exotic animal sent from a Maya kingdom to cement an alliance, which then became a potent offering to the gods of Teotihuacan. So what happened? Why did this widespread ancient practice of large-scale animal sacrifice decline, particularly around the Mediterranean? It was a gradual shift. In the Greco-Roman world, philosophers began to criticize the practice on ethical grounds, but the most significant driver of change was the rise of Christianity. Emerging from a Jewish tradition where sacrifice was central, early Christians reinterpreted the concept. The theology of Jesus as the ultimate final sacrifice rendered all other animal offerings unnecessary. As Christianity became the state religion of the Roman Empire, pagan sacrifices were eventually banned, and the ancient system faded away. This profound shift is visible in the archaeology, as the once common deposits of sacrificial bones disappear from ancient sanctuaries. Archaeozoology has transformed our understanding of ritual sacrifice. It has moved the story from abstract texts into the tangible reality of the past. The bones of these animals are not mute artifacts. They are a rich and detailed archive. They tell us about the symbolic value of a horse in Spain versus a donkey in Canaan. They reveal the step-by-step process of ritual, from the butcher's cut to the distribution of the feast. They illuminate how religion, economics, and politics were woven together, showing how a single act could display power, forge an alliance, or reinforce the social order. Through the careful study of these remains, we can listen to a history that was never written down. The altars have grown cold, and the chants have faded, but the bones remain, bearing silent witness to some of antiquity's most powerful beliefs. Thanks for listening to Fun Facts Online.